Are you a pet entrepreneur and or pet marketing professional? Do you want a place where you can gain innovative marketing strategies, receive actionable advice, keep up with the latest trends, and thrive in today's market? Welcome to the Pet Marketing Mastermind. All guests are proven and successful marketers in the pet industry. Hello, everyone. Please welcome my guest to the Pet Marketing Mastermind. Please welcome Roy Ben, the founder of the Woof. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell everyone about the Woof.
So the Woof is essentially, like one of our readers said, it's a morning brew for the pet industry. All right. We try to cover the B2B side, so businesses, entrepreneurs, founder stories, and we do that twice weekly on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's amazing. Why start the Woof? Was this some desire you felt that it was needed in this space? Something that you've enjoyed in the past in other industries? Why the Woof and why now for the pet industry?
So I don't know, when you look at the pet space right now, a lot of it, there are some companies, and not necessarily even in the media realm, but there are some companies out there doing some really cool things, innovating as far as branding and services and products and just general innovation. But a lot of it is outdated, and I think probably more so than some other sectors, and specifically in media. If you look at some of the outlets that are out there, it's just, I don't want to name names, but they're kind of just repurposing, press releases. It's not a lot of just fun stories, founder stories, biz insights, stuff to allow the next generation of entrepreneurs to kind of dabble their feet in entrepreneurship in the pet space and figure stuff out. Like, we're trying to just do it a little bit differently, just be a bit more 2024 rather than 1987. That's kind of it. Like, we were like, let's test it out, right? A year ago, newsletters have been big for a long time, but I feel like in the past couple of years, like, they've gotten their boom, especially with some of the ESP companies out there, like Beehive and a couple others that are seeing a real surge. But we were just like, let's see if people are interested, right? Like, we want to do content for people in the pet space. And to our surprise, there was a good amount of demand, like a lot of word of mouth, a lot of organic growth, and so far so good. And we just kind of want to keep producing content, original content. Right now what we've been doing, I would say, is probably maybe 10 to 20% of what we want to do. But, we're happy with the growth and how it's been so far.
I love that. I love that you saw a market segment and you're like, hey, I think we can do this differently. And bring us into the modern times for that next generation. Let's go back a little bit. What was your first marketing strategy role, pet or non-pet? This could be if you had a lemonade stand, your first job, maybe your first brand, postgraduate, and in the real world. What was that first role where somebody said you're in charge of marketing and promotion?
That's a good question. I'm not conventional in that sense where, like, I haven't had a conventional role as a CMO or marketing head or whatever, but I've always been entrepreneurial and I've always tried to figure out what works. I would say, move away from, stuff in teenage years and childhood and all that stuff. But as far as an adult, we had a company in New York, I think about 2014, 15. And again, I wasn't necessarily, we were two guys, and the company was Shotco, and we had a line of juice shots that was like prebiotic, probiotic, post-workout, pre-gut, all that good stuff. And I think we were one of the first 3 companies in the space. This was cold press, it's not like shelf stable stuff. And we were one of the first companies, and it was just trying to find stuff that would work for us. So there was not necessarily a playbook to do that, We were just trying to do stuff that we thought we would work for us. And it was a lot of testing, right? It was a lot of seeing, for example, we were reaching out to influencers at the time. And this was pre-stories, right? So there was no stories on Instagram. It was just people had to literally post. So we would be, hey, like, we love your content. And our sweet spot was, influencers around, let's say, 10 to 20, 30K. So not the ones with the hundreds of thousands. And to our surprise, if we would send them product, they would post, So they were like, hey, we love these products. We use them all the time. And we just found success there. And I just kept doing that because, it was low-hanging fruit, essentially. It was just finding these type of influencers that we thought were a good fit for us, sending them our product, having them post and talk about it. And some will even do YouTube videos. So we found that stuff really worked. I don't know if that worked today. I feel like today the content creators or influencers are perhaps a bit more savvy. They'll just put it up on their stories. That disappears in 24 hours. But at the time, we found that worked for us, just as far as the online and the D2C.
Yeah, I love that you kind of like tested and tried and said, "Oh, wow, yeah, this is successful." Saw an opportunity. I'd say maybe you're the co-chief marketing officer with a team of two in that role. I think as an entrepreneur, like, you put on so many hats that you might not even realize that you were you were influencing those marketing decisions. And I absolutely agree. I think those influencers have become a lot more savvy. The scales have tipped a little bit within their favor, just because the amount of attention they have. Some of the larger audiences become full-scale media companies on their own right. Transitioning a little bit, what, if any, difference do you see in marketing to business pet, or people in buying your juices and prebiotic, probiotic? What difference or even similarities do you see in marketing messaging and approach? Is it product results? Is it long-term knowledge? What is that difference, or something that when you see an article or some original content coming out from the Woof, that's really, we've really hit it on this one because it speaks to the audience in a certain way?
Yeah, I think they're both different and similar. They're similar in the sense of, well, I'll actually start why they're different. They're different because I feel like in the pet industry, most of the people in the pet space that I've met are mission driven. It's people that really love their pets. And that's usually why they got into it, because they either wanted to prolong their life, they wanted to create better products, better services. They didn't, this thing that is currently on the market wasn't sufficient for their pets' needs. So they're like, okay, let me go and start this thing. So there's a mission there. It's not necessarily just because, I think I'm going to be a multi-millionaire from if I enter this space and I can really leverage this trend that's happening. Perhaps there's some of that. I'm sure there's some of that as well. But overall, I think it's more mission driven. Whereas, when you're trying to sell a CPG company, it's kind of mission driven in a way, but it's really like, I'm just, and I don't know, this was for me, maybe other people will disagree. It's like, I want to create really cool shit, right? Like, I really like this product. I think we can create something really good. Maybe no one else is really doing it like this. And again, like, there's got to be some sort of a mission. At least that's how it is nowadays. Like, I don't think that was the case maybe 10, 20 years ago. Nowadays, you kind of have to, I don't know, lump your product with some mission statement. But I just don't think it's the same as in the pet space. Pet space is in the last 5-10 years, especially since COVID, obviously, people have been, the birth rates have gone down and the adoption rates have gone up. We love our pets more than anything. We spend on our pets more than we ever had. There's more services, there's more products. So people are just buying more and more, and they really want to just give their pets the best quality of life, kind of like they do for their kids. And, I don't think that was the case 10 or 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of the difference. Although, like I said, it is a little bit similar. But as far as the similarity, I think story is what binds everything. I think stories are what sells, and stories are what attracts people. And it doesn't matter if you're selling lemonade, or if you're telling a story of your brand, or if it's B2B SaaS, at the end of the day, it's just you have to tell a compelling story. You have to have people invested in you, whether it's in you as a founder, whether it's in your mission, whether it's in your company, what you're doing, whatever it is, you have to have a compelling story. So I think that is the thing that binds them all together.
I love that. I absolutely agree with that, mission driven. I'll talk to some entrepreneurs, talk about their marketing strategy, and the majority of them say, well, my dog, insert name, had this problem. That's why I came up with this solution. I think it's tough for those marketers to not realize that every dog has the problem that their dog have.
Yeah.
It's like, my dog always did this. Well, not everyone dogs always do. There's a lot that do. not every dog. So let's scale that down a little bit and understand who your target audience is. Anytime I talk to an entrepreneur who says every dog, I'm like,
yeah,
most likely not. But
it's like saying every person. It's like, well, some people for sure, not everyone.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Most things. Yeah, not everyone drinks, the same water or the same soda. Like there's differences there. So big a piece of a pie. Since you've been seems like an entrepreneur for many years now, your work with the Woof, what marketing campaign were you most proud of and why? This could be the one that like got the most attention, that from concept to in market felt like the biggest realization of that vision. The one that that campaign, or even an interview or recent original article on the Woof that you're like, I'm really proud of that. Not the most proud of, or something can overtake it, but what's that one that maybe stands above, that was like, when this hit, we were excited?
It's a good question. Specifically for the Woof?
You can go back to your other entrepreneurial efforts, or keep it on the Woof. No need to stay outside. No need to stay within the industry.
Sure. I mean, we had actually a bunch of really successful campaigns, or stuff that we did with Shotco that we saw amazing ROI. Not necessarily always as far as people purchasing, but just brand awareness and talking to people, and I think we had a bunch of those. But specifically for the Woof, if we'll kind of stay in the pet space, I don't know if we've had, the one thing I had, which is actually recent, which I've been on Reddit now for about 14 years, and Reddit is brutal mostly because of anonymity. And they will, and if you're trying to promote anything on Reddit, be it direct or indirect, they will just brutalize you. They're brutal on Reddit. And again, it's mostly because of anonymity. So if they sniff out any marketing ploy that you're kind of like straddling that line of, oh, I'm just posting, this is not a marketing thing. If it is, they'll come for you. But recently I had a lot of success. I actually had a post there, and I kind of told my story a little bit as an entrepreneur. I added both successes and failures, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll just post this, see if it works, because in the past it's been hit or miss. And I don't want to say it went viral. I don't know what constitutes viral necessarily as far as actual numbers, but it did pretty well. It ended up having almost 400,000 views, which is not bad. And we ended up adding, I think it was a couple of hundred subscribers in like a day, which was a big uptick for us in one day. I think it was maybe 200 plus. I can't remember exactly. So I think for us testing new things, right? Because we do the regular stuff where it's posting on social, LinkedIn, Twitter, constantly like interacting with people, DMing people in the space, getting people to do interviews like we just did the other day. Joe Spector, the founder and CEO formerly of Hims, now of Dutch. And we've had other amazing entrepreneurs and people from M&A in the pet space, and just really amazing entrepreneurs. And every time we have them on, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, this is, we have really good content here, which is what matters. Because again, if we create the same type of content as everyone else, we're not going to see the type of success that we have. So creating good content is, for me, chief. Like, that is number one thing that I'm trying to do each week. And if we don't, also, again, our subscribers will let us know, right? We have the polls in the bottom and we see it. So we try to always stay true to that. But just the fact that we were able to, I don't know, put a post out, get those subs, get 100% of the comments were just absolutely positive. And that actually translated into subscribers, maybe some from the pet space, maybe some aren't. For us, I saw that as a big win, and not something that we usually do, and not even something that we have in our head as far as like, this is part of the strategy for growth. This was just a long shot. Let me see if it works. And sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. And this time it did.
I think it speaks to what you said before. It's all about the story. So you told your story as an entrepreneur, you told your passion point. And I had chills right when you mentioned Reddit, because I was like, oh no, because I've had so many screenshots sent from CEOs or clients on like,
it's landmines. It's landmines everywhere. You don't know. You have to walk, and you have to just be cautious not to get blown up.
Yeah, I've had a couple like brands that like got blown up, and did you see this, XYZ company, and there's some bashing, and just because of that anonymity, they can just kind of say whatever they want to in this safe space. And so you're like cringing when you see Reddit in a subject header. You're like, okay, let's see what we can do to address this. We can't delete it. We can't remove it. Like that customer service response is wildly different than it, and is evolving too, because the customer has such a giant mouthpiece that they could have just drug you through the mud. 1,000 comments on the other side of like, all those things. And sometimes it's when you get in the wrong rooms too. That ends up in the wrong subreddit of like people that don't agree with, shocking, like people don't agree with people and pet parents, right? Like, what are you doing? That's just or the other side, people that don't agree with that dogs are pets. Like it's this wild polarization. So I'm very happy that it ended well for you. It's inspiring to just swing the bat.
Somehow survive. But it's also, you have to, and this is part of creating content. I think people have to realize that there's a possibility you're going to get scorched. There's a possibility the content you put out there is not going to hit with the type of audience that you think it's going to hit with, or you're putting it out to the wrong audience, or the message is wrong, or whatever. There's people that put, and then there are people that put content, to forget the subreddit, forget the type of content. They'll put content, and then they get bashed because for whatever reason, the content's not good, or it's cringy, or it's whatever. And then they get mad. Oh no, like my content. It's like, no, if everyone's saying your content's bad, it's obviously bad. Unless you want it to be bad, unless like being like a troll is part of the shtick, that's fine. Like some people really, they're successful online by doing that stuff, but I don't think that's sustainable long-term. I think eventually even the troll, they have to become something else, because that's just not a sustainable long-term strategy. But again, like if it doesn't hit, people are going to tell you it doesn't hit, and you can't get offended. You have to say like, okay, like that sucked. I have to do better next time. I have to get a better message. I have to tell a better story. I have to find the correct audience to tell that story to. It's just part, it's the name of the game. You got to have thick skin.
I love that. Shifting just a little bit. When a dog entrepreneur or B2B person in the dog space sees a marketing campaign from the Woof, or an article shared on LinkedIn, or one of their friends or colleagues forwards them your newsletter. What's your primary goal or emotion that you want to convey after that person, enjoys the first piece of content from the Woof? What is that like North Star from a content perspective that like, yeah, we nailed it on this article, or hey, go back to the drawing board on there because it's not there yet? What is that for the Woof?
It's a good question, my friend. I would say probably if we can turn those readers into subscribers, that's obviously the biggest goal for us. Our churn is extremely low. So once people subscribe, they typically don't unsubscribe. Perhaps, as our volume goes up, that'll change. I'm sure it will. But right now it's extremely, extremely low. So for us, if we can turn our readers or, the friends of the readers, whoever people share it with, into subscribers. For us, that's definitely a North Star for now. In the future, we're going to have tiers and we're going to be upgrading and stuff. But for now, where we're at, that's the goal.
And then what primary tool are you using to achieve that? Is it the quality of the content, the sneak previews? Next week's episode is some insight that you can only receive on the Woof. What is that? What's that? What's one tool in your bag of tricks to take a viewer to a subscriber?
I'll be honest, I probably need to do a better job with it. I'll be completely honest. Like there's a few things we're doing, but we probably need to do a better job. Right now, we're open and free, meaning if you click on our stories, if you go anywhere on the website, you can go through the whole thing. Like we're not, some people they'll do like either half or like completely, paywall. I don't think that's necessary for where we're at, but I definitely understand it, right? Like you'll read the headline and then like you can't read the rest unless you pay. I understand that. And then, people are either, and it's not even the paid subscribers. You have to input your email. So you have to become a subscriber before you can read. I don't know, maybe that works. We haven't tested it out and I don't have the data to tell you like that actually works better than keeping it completely free, people enjoying your stuff and then saying, hey, you know what? I love this content. Let me be a subscriber. For me personally, when I see either a paywall or a subscriber, first input your email, it's a little bit of a turnoff, especially when I can't access the content initially. Like I'm not going to put my email or pay for something that I don't know what it is. So for me, that's a turnoff, but perhaps that works for other people. Right now, I think the content is what gets people. Like people are seeing like, oh, this is actually like really fun content. We try to get the latest content as far as like everything that's happening in the pet space, like day to day. And we've had a lot of people within the pet space like reach out like, oh, I had no idea this was happening. Or I had no idea this is. So like the fact that we can kind of keep them up to speed, I think that's something that people enjoy. And then on top of that, just really sharing, because again, there's if you go to I went to the what was that pet convention a couple of months ago in Florida.
Global
Pet Expo. And it's massive, right? And there's so many companies out there from big to small. And I'll be honest, a lot are just not that interesting. I don't know how else to say it. It's just, it's lackluster branding. It's repetitive products that you've seen a million times. And there's about 20 to 30% that are just really cool. Like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, the founder's really cool. The branding's really cool. The story, the product, the service, etc. Something that's innovative. Same here, right? There's a lot of companies out there that it's just like, well, I don't know if this is necessarily super interesting to cover, but there's, 20, 30, 40% that are super interesting. And that's the slice of pie that we're trying to get out there.
Love it. Yeah. Exactly what I saw when I first saw it, probably 6 months ago or so. It was kind of like always constantly in the feed, but it felt like one of those like secret weapons from a business entrepreneur perspective, is where your friend sends you this and is like, hey, this has really helped me, check this out. Or there's a really good advice in here for what you're doing. One of those like things you share with like close friends and colleagues to like help them up their game. That's what I felt. So mission
appreciate that, man.
Mission accomplished on that. And I love that you're leaning in on like, let's do content and subscribers first versus trying to put in these like hurdles to get the content. Because I know that's popular with publishers. Like you can see the art, you can see the headline, but to read the rest. But you're saying, hey, let's create really good content. And then let it dictate what's next steps from there. Kind of create some groundswell and then move it forward.
And there's precedence for that. I try to, I'm subscribed to a bunch of newsletters, just A, because I love them, but B, because I'm always trying to learn from people who are maybe 2 or 3 years ahead of us. Like, oh, what are they doing? Like, what are the tricks that they're using? How are they doing their media kit, or how are they formatting? Or like, I'm always looking at other people to see what they're doing and see if I can draw some sort of inspiration from them. And I do. There's a lot of, newsletters out there that are doing amazing. And, there's one that I follow that the newsletter has been free for 4 or 5 years, something like that. And now they're adding a paid version, right? A paid tier. They've gotten to a point where they've got probably a few 100,000 subscribers, and now they can start leveraging that, but they waited. They didn't try to do that off the bat. They became big. They got a name for themselves. They probably hired a few writers along the way. And now they can, they're at the point where they can leverage that. I'm sure they're doing extremely well. So I think for me, it's always looking at what, my peers are doing, the people that I see maybe a little bit, just a couple of steps ahead of us, and just taking the things that work from them and applying it to us.
I love that. I love value first, because I feel like when value happens, audience and awareness and attention follow, because they're, wow, this is really good value. Send it to a friend or send it to here. Once you remove value for like behind the paywall, then it's difficult to grow the groundswell. Yeah. I think offering the paid makes sense for that at a certain time when that audience is like needing more, desiring more, wanting more from you. Then it's like, okay, now you need to commit and lean in so we can do other things and shift our focus. Kind of talking more now about marketing strategy and tools that you use. What marketing tool is your team or you most excited about? So this could be AI, some tracking on your newsletters, split testing email headlines, SMS, influencer, events. Maybe it's Reddit or another thing there. What's a marketing tool that you're excited about testing and trying? Because it feels like you've kind of been doing that in your career.
It's Apollo.io, if I'm not mistaken. And you can just find every company, or most companies' emails there, or more specifically, the people that work for those companies. So if you're looking to reach VCs, if you're looking to reach advertisers, if you're looking to reach, even if I want to interview certain people and I can find them on Apollo, that's been an extremely useful and free tool. I don't know why it's free. They should probably charge. I'm sure they have like tiers, but it is one of the most useful tools. If you're trying to cold email, or if you're trying to just find people for whatever reason, again, whether it's collaborations, investments, anything, it's all there. And most of these tools, they give you like a limit. So let's say, what's the other one? Rocket Reach. I think you have like 5 emails, and it's actually kind of crappy. This tool has been immensely helpful, again, with finding people for us to interview, for advertisements, everything. So that's one tool that I recommend everyone check out if they're trying to cold email other people.
I love it, and that's an important skill set, and having the right tool to go into. So thank you so much for sharing. Shifting a little bit into the company as a whole, what are your goals or marketing objectives? Start that over. What are your company's marketing objectives or goals for the next 6 months?
Well, obviously growth, but the question is how. So we want to start tackling original content. So in the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned, someone said that we're the morning brew for the pet industry. And when Morning Brew started out, they were, it was just a newsletter. And over time, they've created original content, and a ton of it. They've just mastered Twitter and Instagram. They're one of the fastest growing, I think, Instagram accounts nowadays. And I think it's all due to their original content, and it's kind of infotainment, right? Like, it's fun, it's quick, it's just built for the Gen Zers. And that's kind of where we want to go. We want to do that, again, for the pet space. So for us, short form, original content, maybe podcasting down the road. I used to have my own podcast, so I don't know if that's something I want to do again. Although I do highly recommend people start their own podcast. If for nothing else, if not necessarily even for, I want to see a direct return on investment, and if I put in $50 a week on, editing tools and all that stuff, I want to see 500 back. Forget all that. Just the networking opportunities that you can have from doing a podcast, as you probably know, it's amazing, and you learn a ton. You get to meet amazing people. So don't start, if you do want to start a podcast, don't start it with I want to get a return on my money. Just started with that in mind. But I digressed a bit. But back to what I was saying is, for us, content, original content is something we want to start investing in more heavily in the next 6 months. That we see that as a real funnel for growth for the actual newsletter.
I love it. I'm excited to see some infotainment coming from the Woof. Sign me up when it first posts. We're excited to
follow our social. Follow our social.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing so much valuable advice from your juice startup to the innovation in the pet industry. What final piece of advice do you have for a pet marketing professional? This could be an entrepreneur, an executive. What final piece of advice do you have for them sitting in your role as the founder of the Woof?
First of all, follow the Woof, because we do weekly biz insights every Tuesday. So we have, some of the top execs and CEOs, and they give their 3 business insights for people just like you. But for me, just start. Start small, test what works, figure out the market and see what works. We have a little girl that is, or I guess she's not that little anymore. She's probably a teenager now, but when she started, she was probably, I don't remember the exact age, 8, 9, something like that. And she started this pet company, and it was treats for dogs, and now they're doing really well. She's in a bunch of big box retailers. She's been on, the morning shows. And so it's and she's 9, what's your excuse? If you want to get into the pet space, sure, if you want to make something grandiose, like some breakthrough medicine that's going to prolong my dog's life by 20 years, it's a tall ask, and you have to get, investment, and you have to do a ton of different things, R&D. But if you're trying something a little bit smaller, just test it out. If you have an idea and you're passionate about it, and you're like, you know what, I think this could do well. Don't invest a ton in branding. Don't invest a ton in, just do that first product, test, see maybe everyone will say, hey, this is crap. It's not good. Maybe people will say, hey, this is amazing. And then you'll start to innovate and build on that and create a following, create a community. Just see what the market wants. So yeah, just start. Don't sit with all your big ideas and just stuff them away in the drawer and never act on them.
I absolutely love that. You're saying that's just start and test. I've talked to entrepreneurs that are like, well, I don't know. I don't have everything right yet until we launch. And I'm like, you're not going to know if it's right in 6 months. You're going to have to change it up, because a new platform is going to come out. A new pricing model is going to come out. Iterate and test. Well, Roy,
you don't need the best. You don't need the best domain. You don't need the best branding. We've done stuff with minimal budgets, and test, and afterwards start to build. Once you have some income, then maybe change. Make the website more user friendly, or do better branding, or upgrade the product, or whatever it is. But just start first, test, and then build.
Exactly. If you ever want to see what brands used to look like, you can go to the Wayback Machine.
Exactly.
Pull up your favorite brand and be like, hey, that's where they started. Look where they're at now.
Yep.
To launch. Roy, thank you so much for sharing your story and for providing incredible advice to entrepreneurs. If somebody wants to subscribe to the Woof, where would you recommend they go?
Just go to our website, woofnews.co. You can subscribe. It's completely free. Go check us out.
Excellent, guys. Make sure to check out woofnews.co. Thank you again, Roy. Thank you all for listening to the Pet Marketing Mastermind. Make sure you subscribe for more episodes just like this.